There's a moment in leadership that almost no one talks about. It's not burnout. It's not failure. It's not even crisis. It's the quiet realization that you are replaceable. And the first time that thought hits you, it doesn't feel empowering. It feels threatening. I remember exactly when it happened. We were in a strategy meeting, whiteboards filled, numbers projected, energy high. The team was debating direction, strong opinions, clear thinking, momentum building. And then something strange happened. They solved the problem without me. Not because I wasn't there. I was sitting at the head of the table, but they didn't look to me for the answer. They didn't pause, waiting for approval. They didn't stall. They moved. And for a split second, just a flicker, I felt something I wasn't prepared for. If they can do this without me, what exactly is my value? That question can mess with you. Because early in leadership, your identity is tied to being needed, being central, being the one who sees what others don't. So when you see competence grow around you, it can feel like control slipping. But that's where the real shift begins. And this is where things get uncomfortable. Most leaders secretly want two things at the same time. They want a team that runs without them, and they want to feel indispensable. Those two desires are at war with each other. And if you're not careful, you start sabotaging growth to protect relevance. You hold information. You slow decisions. You insert yourself into problems that don't require you. Not consciously, but subtly, with cause being needed feels safe. But here's the truth that changed my leadership forever. If your company cannot function without you, you are not a leader, you are a bottleneck. And that realization is brutal because it forces you to confront something deeper than systems or delegation. It forces you to ask, is my goal control or impact? That meeting changed everything for me. I went home unsettled, not angry, not defensive, just aware. Aware that I had been confusing visibility with value. I had equated being the loudest voice with being the strongest leader. But real leadership isn't about being central. It's about being foundational. There's a difference. Central means everything runs through you. Foundational means everything stands because of you. One creates dependency, the other creates strength. And once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. So I began testing something new. Instead of stepping in first, I stepped back. Instead of giving answers, I asked sharper questions. Instead of solving, I watched. At first, it was uncomfortable. Silence in meetings felt longer. Decisions took routes I wouldn't have chosen. People made mistakes I could have prevented. And that's when the real tension showed up. Do you intervene or do you let growth happen? Because here's the trap. When you jump in too quickly, you protect short-term outcomes, but you stunt long-term capability. Leadership isn't about preventing every mistake. It's about building people who can navigate mistakes without you. That shift is terrifying. It means your ego has to shrink so your team can expand. It means celebrating wins that don't have your fingerprints on them. It means sitting in rooms where you are no longer the smartest voice and being proud of that. But that's where power actually multiplies. This is where it gets interesting. The more replaceable I became operationally, the more irreplaceable I became strategically. Because when you're no longer drowning in decisions, you can think, you can see patterns, you can focus on direction instead of details. And something else happened. Respect changed shape. Before, people respected my competence. Now, they respected my trust. That's a different level. Trust says, I believe you can handle this. Control says, I don't believe you can. And your team always knows which one you're operating from. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. Are you building a system that survives you? Or are you building one that revolves around you? Because if you disappear tomorrow and everything collapses, that's not loyalty. That's fragility. That's fragility. And fragile systems don't scale. The hardest part of this transformation wasn't delegation. It was identity. Letting go of being needed forced me to redefine my value. If I'm not the one answering every question, who am I? If I'm not solving every fire, what is my role? That's when I realized something powerful. My role isn't to be the hero. My role is to build heroes, and that requires restraint. Restraint from stepping in. Restraint from correcting too early. Restraint from turning every challenge into my responsibility. Because leadership maturity looks like this. You are strong enough to step back, and stepping back isn't weakness. It's multiplication. This shift will test you. You'll feel invisible at times. You'll question whether you're still contributing. But watch closely. If your team grows louder, more decisive, more capable, that is your impact echoing. And here's the final realization that locked it in for me. The goal of leadership is not to be needed forever. It's to make yourself unnecessary in the areas that limit growth, so you can focus on the areas that expand vision. If you're exhausted right now, constantly pulled into every decision, every approval, every crisis, it might not be a workload issue, it might be a control issue. And control disguised as responsibility is one of the quietest traps in leadership. So here's your reflection for this week. Where are you still the bottleneck? What decisions could someone else make, even imperfectly, that you're still holding on to? And what would your organization look like 6 months from now if you train someone to replace you in your most time-consuming function? Sit with that, because growth requires release. And the leaders who scale the furthest are the ones who understand this. You don't prove your value by being indispensable. You prove your value by building something that doesn't depend on you. That is legacy. That is leadership. That is power without ego. So the next time you feel threatened by how capable your team is becoming, pause. That discomfort, that's growth. Let it happen. Step back and build something that can breathe without you. Because when you stop trying to be needed, you finally start leading.